Yeah, they're great. They're a great team. Nothing bad about them. But everyone thought that they were going to win. We came out and played the best we could and showed that we were top of the league. We are up there too. Our coach always preached special teams is going to win you games, and obviously that block field goal, or the fumble on the kickoff, it's exactly what happened. Special teams is a big part of the game. It's 1/3, we definitely came through today.
Again, very evenly matched game, two good football teams. Now we can regroup and get healthy and finish out the season. Last year we had a loss, and we went on to win the NDL and make the state. So we're going to keep pushing forward. Credit Holy Cross. It was their night tonight.
It really shows the improvement of our team and our players. It really shows that we have that dog mentality. We won't give up. Basically, we'll just keep striving. We won't hang our heads down. We have each other's backs, and we believe in ourselves.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And I'm your host, Sean Patrick Boley, and with me, as always and forever, Petey Pageviews. Petey, how are you?
Ooh, good forever. We're just locking ourselves in. Did I get a contract extension?
Joining us a little bit later on the show, Killingly's Chad Neal, the coach up there in the noisy corner. Got that out real quick this time. And at the top of the show, of course, you heard it was a light week last week because of a lot of the teams from the Fairfield County taking byes. So we all went. The gang was all there at Municipal Stadium in Waterbury, where Holy Cross, my goodness, Holy Cross rallies back to beat Naugatuck 21-19. You heard a little bit from Holy Cross's Thomas Legy once we were able to corral him outside the jubilant locker rooms there at Municipal. And you heard a little bit from Noggy's Chris Anderson taking it all in stride, game of inches. We'll be back. We lost last year. We'll be fine. And then, of course, you heard the guy, the man of the hour, Rowan Maldonado, the linebacker. He was awesome. He was all over the field on defense, but he made two of the games possibly, at least in Holy Cross's, as way as Holy Cross is concerned, two of the biggest plays of the year. Leveling Jaden Martinez to force the fumble to set up the go-ahead touchdown by Marquise Campbell with 6:44 left. And then just when it looked like Naugatuck was going to come back to steal this one away, setting up to walk out of there with a winning field goal, Maldonado did it again, bursting through the line, blocking the kick by sure-footed Dom D'Souza, and Holy Cross ran off the field, literally, to get ready for Ansonia next week. But what a great performance that was. Game of the year right now in the NVL. It lived up to the hype. A little Thursday night action. Everybody was there, like I said. You got a little Jimmy Shannon taking photos, and Ned Griffin in the house showing up finally. It's been a while. We hadn't seen Ned all year, and Ned showing up. Pete, what did you think of the game? You were there as well.
It was a party. That was a great game. I mean, game of the year in the NDL for sure. I think it also sets up something really interesting because Holy Cross and Ansonia do play next week. If Ansonia wins that game and then Naugatuck beats Ansonia on Thanksgiving, we have no idea what the hell's going on. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I'm going to date myself back to my freshman year of college when Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Texas all tied for the Big 12 championship. And they were like, who's going to the BCS? We have no idea. What's the 9th tiebreaker to figure this out? And obviously there's no NVL title this year, even if people claim that there's not. But it is really interesting to see now because Holy Cross was a player. They're a player in the NVL. This win over Naugatuck solidifies that because a lot of people told us Naugatuck was the best team in the NVL this year. And Holy Cross took it to them. It's not like Holy Cross went up early and often and Naugatuck kind of clawed its way back, or it was like back and forth. Like Naugatuck controlled that game.
Yeah.
They were up, what was it, 19-7?
Yeah, 19-7 after 3 quarters. They're putting us to sleep.
Yeah, that game, and the Holy Cross battled back into it. They're a player. Next week against Ansonia is a huge game that will tell us a lot about what's going to happen in the NVL the rest of the way. But, it's not a 2-team race anymore.
No, certainly not. I mean, listen, not going to play well enough to win, except in the end, they didn't win. But Caden Martin played awesome. I don't know if they're going to get Jet Hall back, but he was great. He had a few touchdowns. They were putting that team. They were putting them to sleep. They just didn't put them away.
Yep.
I was really shocked, Pete, after Campbell goes in to score to make it 20-19. What's Holy Cross doing? Not going for 2 in that spot. Like, immediately, Chris Anderson's like, oh, wow, thanks. I could probably win this game. I mean, they got out of there with the win, but what's Holy Cross, Pete, doing? I did not talk to the coaches afterwards because they got the heck out of there. They went to the locker room. It was bedlam. It was a mess. But I was just stunned. And maybe it just didn't occur to them.
It might not have occurred to him. Think about it. I mean, Holy Cross scores to make it 19-14. And
right.
then
scores
and there's the fumble.
Nice,
yeah, and then there's the fumble. Right? Boom. Right on the ensuing kickoff, fumble, ball's on the ground. 3-4 plays later, they're in the end zone. And all of a sudden, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
So they might have just been, okay, go. Like it could have just been chaos. But yeah, that was a head scratcher. Obviously, it worked out for them. But
right. Well, here was the thing I thought. So now Noggy knows it doesn't need a touchdown to win this. It doesn't need a field goal to even tie. Like now they could play for a field goal. And from what I heard, there was a mother of one of the players on the sidelines who knew D'Souza was a really good kicker. I'd heard of him. I know he played last year, but he was apparently in like a championship in Massachusetts against some teams from Chicago, and they froze him twice, and he still kicked it. Like he was good. Like they thought that they were really confident he was going to kick this. So I mean, it was just according to that. But maybe Chris decided, I'm going to play for this field goal rather than, oh man, I got to get a touchdown here. And maybe in that small weird way, it worked out for Holy Cross. I don't think that was the plan. If it was, that's pretty next level, 3D, 4D thinking right there.
That would be incredible, but I'm of the mindset that maybe it just slipped their minds. It was just so chaotic. It was literally 6 plays. Holy Cross went from down 2 scores to up like that. So I don't know. That was wild though to even think about, and I didn't even think about it at the time. You mentioned it to me after the game.
Yeah.
So hopefully they don't think like me. Hopefully they're smarter than me.
If you really look at it, they were both 3 scores each, right? I mean, Holy Cross missed a field goal. They missed a field goal. The only difference was that Naugatuck didn't make the extra points.
They missed their first extra point on a bad snap, and then they went for 2 at one point and did not get it.
Yeah, so there were they're basically even teams, really. I mean, someone's got to win here, and Holy Cross is it. But now they go down to the belly of the beast. Well, actually, they were welcoming. Excuse me, they don't go down. They welcome Ansonia to town. Too bad that's not a Thursday night game, Pete. That would bring another crowd there. But hey, you got to play Friday at some point because this is high school football.
Well, that and it's municipal field. There's like 30 teams that have home games.
Right, it's just not their turn again. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get that changed in NVL, I'm all about it. You'll get your tickets now.
Yeah, you'll get way more people there. I mean, that Thursday night game, we were there from 3 of us from Game Time. Ned was there. Joe Zone was there from Channel 3. Matt Finkel was there from NBC. Jim Shannon. There were 3 people from the Republican American there. Chris Saunders was on the broadcast. Like there were a lot of people there. So I tell ADs all the time, you want, when I go to a game, they're like, oh, you're here. I'm like, you know what? Play Saturday or play Thursday. Yeah. Because when you play Friday, you're competing with everybody else.
Right. Everyone wants to play Friday night, and it's not really about us. But if you want coverage, you want to get a gate, actually, more importantly, Thursday night, Saturday afternoons. Not Saturday night, because no one's going to those games Saturday nights. I mean, unless you're Choate.
I mean,
playing
the
Avon Old
Greenwich
Farms on a Saturday. There were a lot of people there, but
the Greenwich Southington game was what, a 3:00 start 3 weeks ago. I didn't get home till like 9:00. I don't want to do that.
yeah, on a Saturday that's tough. But there were a lot of guys at the Choate game. I might bring that up. Great game, great prep school game later, which is ridiculous. But so any other guys that stuck out for you? Again, I thought Maldonado was basically put himself on my radar. I mean, he pushed through the line there to block that extra point. That was just all desire right there. He might have had a little help, but obviously Caden Martin played great.
Yeah, Caden Martin. I mean, the talk was, we did the story, Leegee versus Diedelbaum. Diedelbaum didn't have a super amount of carries.
No. Played great on defense.
Played great on defense. That's what I was just about to say.
He was flying around.
He was a force on D. Leegee, he did the dirty work. Yep. He didn't break any long runs, but he moved the chains. The quarterback, Olet, looked awesome for Holy Cross.
He played great too. That catch,
really
who was
good.
that? Who was that? Was that Campbell?
Oh, it was number 1 Campbell, that double tip, triple tip catch.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
It was a great game. People,
really
kind of mess with the NVL a lot. But you know what? When the Klieg legs were on, man, they put on a show on that.
I mean, I think people like to joke on the NVL for a handful of reasons, but for the longest time, way before my time, and I think before your time, the NVL was king. You wanted to be number 1 team in the state, you had to go through the NVL. Yeah. And all those teams. So now it's kind of flipped and everyone's kind of taking their shots at them.
I don't know about that. I mean, there were certainly some major teams back in the day when things were a little bit more even, I suppose. But hey, look, it was a showcase night and they showcased pretty much.
They were great.
It was a great night. But other than that, man, not a lot going on. I mean, we had a few Friday night games. We really didn't have a lot to really talk about. We had 2 interesting ones also, but they're all involving the top 10. So let's break down the top 10. We already broke it down last week because it's the same one this week. But let's just take a look at where we stand as we head into another week. The SDAC, SCC, the ECC, and the SWC were basically all off, give or take. This week, you got most of the CCC, the Pequot, and the CTC a little bit, sort of, and the NVL. So that's what we're looking at here for bye weeks. Then when everyone gets back to business right before Halloween, and away we go for the real second half of the season. But looking at the top 10, number 1 is still Southington, which, the Blue Knights received some pretty awful news before they took on a winless East Hartford. Evan Anderson, remember him, the hero of the Greenwich game. He scored the winning touchdown pass and just played great. His father, Jim, died literally the day before the game at the young age of 52. Evan was well within his right to not play that game, but, he does what most kids do in that. They want to be with their brothers, their family, their football family, and sure enough, they threw him the ball. They started getting the ball, and he scored a couple times. It went up 21-0. But East Hartford hung around there, and I was shocked a little bit at this. But thanks to this guy, Draven Roberts, who scored 3 touchdowns, they were within 27-20, kind of in the third quarter, and they're thinking upset, but just not their day. Lincoln Cardell handed him the rock and ran for 200 yards, 40-20. Southington still undefeated. Number 2, New Canaan, which was idle last week. They get to play Norwalk. We'll see more about them later. Number 3 was the other interesting game on Friday. Maloney had all sorts of trouble with our guys from Newington, Pete. There's the team that we thought we would get at the beginning of the year. Newington showed up matching Maloney point for point and even took a 23-21 lead with 9 minutes left in the game. But then Josiah Gonzalez, man, takes the ensuing kickoff, 90 yards for the touchdown. Maloney steps up on defense, gets the heck out of there, 28-23. Pete, 2 interesting games right there for the top 2 of the top 3 teams in our top 10.
That was very eyebrow raising, but trap games. Look, Newington is a super talented team. We talked about them earlier this year. They are 0-5, but that's a big step going from tier 2 in the CCC going up to tier 1. And it's a grind every single game. I'm not surprised that it was close, but I was at Berlin and I'm like, what is going on in Newington? Like, what is going on right now? What is this game? And then with Southington, East Hartford always fights. Coach Milton does a really good job up there. They haven't really been a state contender since 2018, but they've got guys, they've got athletes, and they're going to fight. They're going to compete. East Hartford played close with Maloney in week 1 this year.
That's right.
They're a competitive team. But it was, I'm sure Mike and Kevin were texting after like, so how was your game? Was it smooth? Because ours wasn't.
They weren't colluding just to kind of make it easy, right?
Yeah.
Make people think that they were like, bad or anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, you saw. Listen, speaking about Evan Anderson and just the horrific.
Yeah.
You saw him. I haven't. He and his dad was active online, right?
Yeah, Jim. So Evan was an Athlete of the Week nominee who won actually after his performance in the Greenwich game, and I get to see all the metrics and the analytics and all the numbers and stuff on our posts, and that one got a lot of shares, and I kept like looking at it. I'm like, Jim Anderson, and I was like, so I was kind of a creep. I clicked on his page, and there it is, Jim Anderson, and all this stuff about Evan. His older brother Gavin played for Southington as well, and he just seemed so proud of his boys. And then obviously with Evan's game against Greenwich, he was very, very, very proud of his son's performance. And it was heartbreaking to read in the Record Journal on Friday night. Just absolutely terrible. If he, like you said, if he didn't play, I don't think, no one blames him. He had every right to not play in that game, but, more power to him. He's a junior, he's a kid. And, it's just so sad.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Our hearts go out to all those guys, and just our best.
Yeah,
losing any family member is just horrific, and especially early. He's young guy, and But we'll see where this takes them going forward. But our best. Just kind of wrapping up the top 10 here. Number 4 is Killingly. We're gonna talk to Chad Neal a little bit later. We actually already talked to him before we recorded this, and it's really good. So stick around for that. Yeah,
great interview.
Yeah, it's a great interview. Chad's the best. Number 5 is Greenwich, and number 6 is St. Joseph. Guess what? They play this week, so we'll figure out who the real number 5 is. It's at Friday night, Pete.
Friday night at Greenwich. I don't know how.
Take the weekend off or something. They go on vacation. Is this their designated time? What's going on over there?
You got 2 schools who play on Saturday, deciding two schools who play their home games on Saturday, deciding to play on Friday night. Friday night, getting down to Greenwich in Fairfield County traffic. Sean, if you're going, leave at 2:00. Like, I would tell you to come and stay at my house until you go, but if you leave my house at 2:00 in Fairfield County to Greenwich, it's still going to take you 2 hours. So you might as well just wake up and leave because it's going to be impossible to get to. Just make sure Anthony knows that you're going, so he'll get you in the good parking spot.
I don't know. I mean, am I going to that game? Who said
I don't know. I'm not going to that game.
Oh.
I'm not here this weekend.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm going to have to go to that game. So that's a big one, obviously. Huge, as they say. Number 7, West Haven, playing Friday night under the lights at Bowen Field versus Wilbur Cross. We'll talk about West Haven in a few weeks, at least. We probably should have, one of us probably should have seen that first game. I was going to go, but,
There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas when we look at the schedule. I got to Berlin, and they were razzing me. They're like, why were you at the Bloomfield game? I'm like, you have no idea how much Sean and I talked about going to that game until 4:00 on Friday. Before we were getting in our cars to leave for our games, we were like, one of us has to go, but we had other responsibilities we had to take care of.
I love the fact that they were mad at us.
Oh, yeah.
I went to Pearson Park. I saw Cromwell, Portland. Then went down to see Hamden. We had a pretty big game. Knocked off Fairfield Prep. That's good for the home coverage. So.
And I was taking photos. So
yeah. So there you go. Anyway, the number 8 is Ansonia. They whooped up on Woolkit going into their bye week to prepare for Holy Cross. Number 9 is Shelton playing their pals from NFA again. Number 10 is Cheshire, which I guess is their biggest test of the year so far, right, Cheshire? This is it.
Yeah,
I mean 1-3.
4-0. They beat Hand last week, or in their last game they beat Hand, which I think at the beginning of the season it had a little bit more oomph behind it. But this, Fairfield Prep's 1-3. It's not the Fairfield Prep of last year, the years before, but they're still Fairfield Prep. It's still going to be a dogfight. Prep's not quitting. So this might be their biggest game so far, but I think we're going to say that every week as we move forward with Cheshire. No, this is the biggest game. No, this is the biggest game because they're starting to get into that buzzsaw of their schedule. And, if they can make it out, with a pretty favorable record. Watch out because they probably won't be as big of a battle-tested team, Cheshire, Shelton, those guys.
Remember, by this time last year, Cheshire was pretty much done. I mean,
Yeah.
give or take, right? They already lost twice. So, they'll take this, take the hard
Absolutely.
later, absolutely. Other games, again, like I said, it was a kind of a light weekend. We had Noggy versus Holy Cross on a Thursday night. And then Friday, we were kind of like toss-ups. I went up to Granby Memorial. I took a long trip up there. I enjoy going up there. The foliage is nice when it's still light out. And I hadn't seen Granby. We're looking to come back. They lost to SMSA, Danny Hernandez, and SMSA in the first game, pretty close. And then looking back at all these scores, SMSA just crushed North Branford this week. They're still undefeated. They look great. So I figured, Cromwell might be in a fight here. They actually allowed their first 2 points, first 2 touchdowns the week before against North Branford. And now they go up on the road, Granby, looking to keep this win streak alive. And Granby's got some good players, man, Pete. I love this kid, Luke Maher, Maher. From the first snap of the game, the kid was everywhere on defense and on offense with a big run into the red zone to set up what turned out to be a missed field goal. Then he also had a pickoff later in the game. That also ended up being a missed field goal, and that really hurt Granby in this one. But his best play was right after Ryan Rosich of Cromwell Portland scores Cromwell's first points with about 40 seconds left to go in the first half. Maher takes the kickoff. He goes 61 yards into scoring position. Next play, Will Migliaccio hits Richardson with a 25-yard strike to tie the game up. And it was 7-7 going into the fourth quarter. Finally, Cromwell Portland puts it together, got its run game going with Emeka Yearwood, moved over from receiver, scores on this sick TD run, spikes the ball. Unfortunately, Alan Cohen, their kicker, makes the 35-yard extra point. Now they got to play a little defense. Granby comes right back down the field. But on 4th and about 3, Migliaccio fumbled. It looked like he fumbled the snap, but instead he was trying for a hard count, maybe draw him off sides. But it was a new center, and he just snapped it on the wrong count. Cromwell Portland a little like, oh, geez, thank God we got out of there with that win. Win 19 straight. But Granby, man, I think they're going to be pretty good. I talked to Eric Shortle, their coach, after the game, and he said, look, we have 2 losses to 2 of the best teams in the league. We're right there.
I'm so glad you're aboard the Luke Maher train now, because I'm pretty sure I was pumping him last year. But yeah, no, they're good. And obviously, with this expanded playoffs, I think Granby's going to be fine. I think they're going to be battle tested and head to the postseason, and we'll see what they can do there. But good, that's good on Cromwell Portland, though. I mean, when you win, was it 19 in a row now?
Yep. Dating back to, I think they won their last. They were bad in 19, if you recall.
Yep.
And then they won they won the Chum Pike Showdown in 19. And then, of course, last year they went 13-0. So,
yeah. So, when you win that many games in a row and you get in a dogfight game like that, I mean, sometimes you don't know how it feels to be playing from behind or playing in a close game. And that's really good for Cromwell Portland to not lose a game like that, because, we know they could win in blowouts. Now we know they can win, close games. So, good on them.
Some big news that might be coming out of Cromwell Portland is Alex Hare might be back. Their running back from last year. It seemed like he was going to be done for the season, and he fractured his leg. He was sitting, in their scrimmage, he was sitting there with his foot up on in a boot on a chair, and it looked like that was it. But they got 2 weeks off here, and then they got to play Valley Regional, which a team we have soccer teams that have been lying in the weeds. But that's going to be a fascinating game in 2 weeks. So if they can get Alex Hare back, I don't know how effective he's going to be in that game, but if he can play, that's going to be kind of a big boost to because they haven't been. That was a reason why you have Emeka Yearwood running at running back, because they've been trying different combinations, but as Randall Bennett said, he was the only one who could bust out a big run, and certainly in that touchdown run, he had that 12-yarder. It was great. And the only other thing I will say before we head to our guest this week is, I did a quick tour of the 2 of the biggest prep school games on the calendar. Now, since the CIAC doesn't play very many Saturday games beside, a few of the tech schools, I figured it was a good time to catch up with a lot of our guys from Connecticut who are playing in a lot of the prep schools. And, it gives us a chance to boost our coverage a little bit. First stop was all the way down in New Canaan on Saturday to catch Hamden Hall versus rival St. Luke's. Hamden Hall is coming off a disappointing loss to St. Paul's of New Hampshire in the Evergreen League, and the Hornets only have about 28 players, give or take, and have been battling a bunch of injuries, notably to their starting running back, Kanye Taylor. And early on, it looked like it would be a dogfight. Check out this guy, Roderick Olson from St. Luke. He's out of Stanford. He's committed to the Naval Academy, trucking down the sidelines, breaking tackles on a 70-yard touchdown run, one of the best runs I've seen all year, to tie things up early for St. Luke's. He would finish with 2 touchdowns, and it was just awesome on defense. But Killingworth's Ethan Cody, formerly at Xavier, counted for 4 touchdowns, including this 34-yard strike to North Branford's Mark Schoolmaker, and then right after this strike to Holden Brown to Caden Bowling for St. Luke's. Trumbull's Nick Tuccinardi returns this kickoff 90 yards for a touchdown. Elijah Light later caught this second Cody TD pass, and the Hornets defense was also relentless. Quavier Johnson had 7 sacks, a school record, and 14 tackles, and the Hornets back on track, 36-19. After that, I had to hit the road and floor it on the Parkway as much as you can for the hour trip back to Wallingford to check out the main event, a massive NEPSAC Founders League showdown between Avon Old Farms and host Choate under the lights at Wilkin Field. Avon and Power 5 caliber quarterback Ryan Puglisi were coming off a disappointing 28-10 loss at home to Loomis Chafee and looking to bounce back versus a Choate squad which was looking for a little payback from last year's 53-19 drubbing. And well, I and another 1,000 fans who were there were treated to an absolute classic. Choate came out like gangbusters, getting touchdowns from Hands All-Stater Seth Schweitzer and Cheshire's Ben Wable, and the defense smothering. The play of the game was a ridiculous scoop and score by lineman Oliver Roman, who takes his Puglisi fumble 90 yards, but Choate ahead 23-0 late in the second quarter. It was only because Puglisi found UConn commit Jackson Harper for a short TD pass to end the half that Avon averted an utter catastrophe. But there was plenty of time left for that. Choate just kept piling on in the third with a couple more touchdowns, and more than halfway through the third quarter, it's 36-7. It's a bloodletting. Everybody's thinking game over, but Avon Old Farms and Puglisi scripted one of the craziest 14 minutes of play I've ever seen. Pete, they scored the final 28 points of the game. Harper scores on a quick pass to end the third quarter, and then it was the defense's turn. Choate's knocking on the door again, but East Hartford's Keyshawn Adams makes a ridiculous interception. And Avon goes right back down the field and scores again, 36-22. After another defensive stop, Puglisi takes them back down the field again. With a second Luke Thornbond TD run, Avon suddenly is within 36-29 with 2 minutes and 46 seconds left. Plenty of time. Choate can't run out the clock. Avon gets the ball back, and of course, Puglisi finds Harper for the 20-yard touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to get within a point with 40 seconds remaining. Are they going to go for it? Of course. But Roman, him again, breaks through the left of the line and rushes Puglisi's 2-point pass. It falls short. Choate recovers the onside kick, and that was it. 36-35. Wow. Game of the year so far. Here's a little bit from Ben Wable, Choate coach LJ Spinato, and a pretty crestfallen but encouraged Avon Old Farms coach John Holland.
This game means a lot to us, especially after last year. You know, they put 50 on our head last year, and you know that was one of our worst games last year. And you know we got to get it for our alumni. We got to get it up, and that's amazing. This feels great. Only up from here, though. Only up from here. Not satisfied.
It's a damn good team, and you can't run them out of any building. We knew they were going to come back, and we knew that they were a more seasoned team than we were. You know, they just went through a battle. They came out healthy. They were in shape. They were cramping in their last game, and I knew in the second half it was going to be hard for us to keep up with their pace of football. And obviously a mobile quarterback like that, great receivers, dragging across the field. It made it really tough for us, no doubt about it. And we tightened up, I think, a little bit on offense, and they were running their kind of cover zero stuff, just shutting down the run, so we couldn't do much there. And it was rough. Yeah, it was a rough second half. we don't come here to be taken out in halftime. New England prep school football is at a whole nother level than it ever was before, and it's awesome. Makes it for a lot of fun.
I couldn't be more proud of their effort, their heart, their integrity, and what we are as a team. And I've said this, and I truly believe it, that right now we're not the best team in New England, but I feel that by the end of the year we will be the best team in New England. I have zero reservations on that based on the talent, the character, and the fabric of the team that we have here.
After the game, all the Choate guys are all asking me, "Where's Pete? Pete, we want Pete." And I'm like, what am I, chopped liver over here? But no, they want the both of us there. They're looking for you, Pete. They want to.
That's so nice. My heart is full at this moment.
Yeah, I had to tell him you were taking a well-deserved break.
Yeah, well, Saturday was tough, but yeah, no, I gotta get out to one of those games this year. It's just when there's like a slow CIAC schedule, I look at it like I get to do the lawn. I got to
you're domesticated now.
I got to fertilize before the winter comes. I got lawn stuff to do. First thing I did Saturday, I checked the website, I checked our Twitter, I checked some of our other stuff, and then I was like, you know what, I got to go cut the lawn. And I jumped on my tractor, threw my headphones in, drove around. It was nice.
Yeah,
it was very relaxing. It's very zen.
Yeah. It was great. It was one of the best games of the year for me so far. I'll be definitely going to see a lot more of them because there's not a lot, like you said, not a lot of CIC teams play on Saturdays, and there are plenty of other Connecticut kids here. A lot of these guys have got, got some pretty big offers, and it's nice to kind of keep tabs on them. Obviously, seeing Seth play well and Maxwell Warren. Maxwell Warren was great. He was a big integral part of that drive to come back, and so on and so forth. With all that said, Pete, come for our only guest and stay for our Star Wars talk. Here's Killingly's Chad Neal. Joining us on the show is, of course, the head football coach of Killingly High School, the number 4 ranked Killingly High School, making lots of noise, as always, in the quiet corner. It's Chad Neal. Chad, how you doing? Welcome to the Meat Grinder.
Doing great, guys. It's awesome to be on this morning and just to join you guys.
I mean, it's about time we had you on. I mean, what more could you have done? I mean, we haven't had you on. You got 2 state titles. You're in the playoffs every year. Like, why haven't we had you on? I'm going to blame Sean. I'm going to blame Sean on that.
Blame Sean. Yeah. Go right at Sean.
It's all my fault. Well, you guys need to prove yourself. We're a couple state championships. Or maybe. All right. Well, 5-0, they might win another. Might as well get them on now. So, I feel like it's been more than that. But, Coach, how you guys doing? How was your week off?
You know what?
Good to recharge.
Great time for a week off, I think, timing wise. Beginning in August, and then through those first 4 weeks, you got to get banged up. Kids get tired. You're starting to get into the meat of school and schoolwork, and sicknesses start coming around. So it's a good week to kind of rejuvenate. And we still had 4 good practices. Just kind of work a lot with some of the younger guys and some of those guys that are on the verge of giving us some varsity minutes. So it was valuable.
When you're on a bye week, obviously you're coming off a win, you go into the bye week, but looking ahead, you do have Windham. Was it those 4 weeks of practices? Is it more like, hey, we're going to take 2 weeks to prepare for this opponent? Or is it like, hey, let's just get back to basics, work on things that we've seen in film that we need to improve on?
I think it's a combination of both, Pete. We began our preparation for Windham, especially on our defensive side of the ball, at least getting into basics, alignments, and responsibilities, and then going back now to the fundamentals, especially in tackling. Not that we were tackling line or anything, but just against pads and technique and conditioning. I think conditioning. One thing we've learned over the years is you want to keep the conditioning going, because you give the kids 14 days off, they're coming back as like day one again. So we did that. We get in the weight room a few times. So a combination of things, but with the eye on Windham, obviously we want to prepare for them because they're a very good football team.
What can you say about your guys so far? I mean, I saw you in a scrimmage up at Cromwell, and I thought you guys looked pretty good. I mean, obviously you're still, lots of things are working out, but the offense, I think one of the coaches there, I don't remember who it was, said that offensive line might be even, I think it was Randall, that offensive line might be even better this year than it was last. And last year was pretty good, and obviously you have Soren Reef, you lose one guy, but you still have the other, you have that piece in place. Just tell me about the guys. I mean, what did you think you'd be good at? And, what's kind of maybe surprised you that you thought, maybe you need a little work?
Well, I think the offensive line, as I say, is key. We bring back Devin and Darren Exahulius, who started for us as sophomores last year, and Terrence Allen, who was a All-State at Walter Camp on the defensive line. He played some offensive line for us on our heavy set. He came in as a tight end, and adding him to the mix. And then what we had is we had to find a center. Owen Turner came in. He had played as a freshman for us and has wrestled, and he came in and has filled in that role nicely. But the biggest surprise for us was a kid named Alexis Ruiz Ortiz, actually transferred in from a high school in Worcester, and he's about 6'4", 315, and he can move. He's a junior. So, when you're looking at, a spot you needed to fill, and, he falls on your lap, but it kind of rounded out the offensive line. We knew what we had coming back with Soren, with Ben Jackson, Noah Colangelo at receiver, and, of course, Thomas Drybolts, who I think right now is playing as good as any quarterback in the state, especially in our system where, the RPO and run people over, we're throwing the ball real well. And I think that's been the nicest surprise is we knew we could throw the ball. We showed it at the end of last year, Thomas's last 4 games, especially on Thanksgiving. He threw for 5 touchdowns, almost 300 yards.
Oh, yeah.
We knew we could throw the ball. And with Ben, Noah, Braden Pedersen, who's been, one of those guys, program guys, I guess you'd call him, and I know it's cliche, who's, played JV, freshman, made his way up, and now is a solid contributor for us. I think we're more diverse, and that's been the nicest surprise for us. And I don't know if it's a surprise. We kind of knew going in that's something, when we look at in the offseason, where do we want to improve and get better? We've been able to do that. And those guys are great leaders. They play hard, and they've won. They've won, and they've been there in big games and big spots.
Yeah, you talk about Tommy Drybowls. I'm going to go out on a limb, say best quarterback that Killingly's ever had, at least passing wise. I mean, he's got 11 touchdowns. He's completed 70% of his passes. Even last year, I mean, he threw 5 touchdowns in a game last year. You mentioned RPO. You're still saying run people over, but is it becoming a true RPO?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's
option?
the joke.
That's
the joke. Is like now they're a real RPO.
Yeah, now they're a real.
Now
RPO.
they've gone to the dark side.
Well, one of my assistants said last year, we're POP now, pass over people. We have a lot of fun with that in practice. And, Thomas is always, how many times are we going to spin the ball this week and throw the ball? And, it just sets up our play action game because our run game is so strong. And he's really solid. He is, he's a true 6'3", 215, 220-pound quarterback that can throw the ball. And I think with Thomas, his growth, one thing that happened with that COVID year is we had to play that 7-on-7 stuff, and he was our quarterback, and he was able to throw quite a bit. As much as I hated it, we hated it, and throwing the ball, and I think it really helped him reading coverages. And the difference again is in the summer we're not coaching them, and they're on 7-on-7. There's not much going on, and at least with that COVID year, you were facing true coverages, and you had to make adjustments and reads, and you had to coach them up.
You said you hated it. You said you hated it, but I'm sure you loved it when you were down 22-7 against Bloomfield week 3.
Yeah, absolutely, loved it then.
You're like, oh god, we got this kid now.
Yeah, well, when you see him throwing the ball, you're like, oh, Thomas, it's catch and then hand off. It's catch and then hand off. Don't throw it. Yeah. No, but has that just been you credit the COVID year off, but has the offense been, kind of changing the last couple of years and adapting? Is it because he can throw the ball and you kind of are using what you have, or is it something that you guys are trying to implement more?
I think it's a combination of both. And I go back to 2019 in the state playoffs against Weston. They really stuffed us. They did a great job against us, and we really had no answers. And they had a great team, but we couldn't throw the ball, and we were stuck with that many guys in the box. And we had to, in that offseason, we really looked at what can we do a little bit differently that wasn't going to change things up so much. Because one thing you don't want to do is implement a whole new system. You just want to kind of build off of what you have. And we spent some time looking at that. What can we do that is easy for our offensive line, similar for our receivers, but we can throw the ball a little bit more. And we looked at a little bit more spread wing T, and definitely our play action game. I think our play action game, in which you don't see on the center a lot around the state, has really helped us, because teams are going to still put 8-9 guys in the box. And how can we get our receivers open? 2-3 receivers in our passing game.
I mean, that's nice. The perfect thing for, they talk about play action. They're like, oh, you run the ball 3 or 4 times, open up play action. You guys have been running the ball for 20 years. I mean, that really has to open up the play action.
Yeah.
It must be nice to have some good receivers. I mean, obviously Jax
is a
and
dude.
Colangelo's, let's not forget. Yeah. I mean, Colangelo had some great catches in that Bloomfield game.
Yes.
That I saw on film. I mean, it's not enough you have a quarterback. You also got to have kids to catch the ball, and usually when you're just a running offense, that's kind of a hard thing to do. But these guys, they're pretty good.
Ben Jax is a special player. He makes plays, and in the game, in practice, you're just like, wow, how did he make that play? And we saw that in Bloomfield, and we've seen it all the time. But that Bloomfield game, they really had a difficult time with him, and that really led to them doubling in some situations on him, and that left Colangelo open, especially on that last touchdown, because we had gone to Ben early on that out pattern, that sail pass, and we saw them jumping it, and they gotta account for him. I don't think you can cover him one-on-one. I think you gotta have one guy on him and one guy over the top. And again, when you do that, it's going to open someone else up. It's going to open our run game. And Ben's a player that I say this: you can run something once and he gets it, or he'll see something and come to you and say, "Hey, this is there." I could put him at quarterback tomorrow, and I don't think he doesn't throw the ball as well as Thomas or run the offense, but he's one of those kids you can put in there, and he's going to run the offense pretty smooth. When you need a playmate, he's going to make a play.
It's because he's a really good baseball player too.
It is.
That's why. That's exactly why.
He's a tremendous baseball. He's an all-around athlete. He's one of those kids that play sports. It comes natural to him. He played sports younger and got out there and played multiple sports, and you see it today with him.
Yeah.
How can you not throw the ball if you're a baseball player? I mean, maybe not but.
Oh, he can throw it.
Oh, okay.
It just looks a lot differently.
Oh,
he's winding up.
Yeah.
We've the legend of Killingly football, for people not in that part of the state. We hear about run people over. The barn has become this not urban legend, but this just legend of churning out all these great players at Killingly. But I got to ask you, you've been there 18 seasons, and only until the last, including this year, 7 years, have you guys really taken off. The first 11 years, you only won 34 games. Right. Since then, you've won 70 games. You've been to the playoffs 6 times, probably will be 7, and you've won 2 state titles, maybe 3. After 11 years, I mean, was it always the point that this was going to be kind of a long build? Or maybe was there ever a time where you were like, do I really want to do this, or do I really want to continue to coach? Since, it was not that it wasn't working, but the wins weren't there.
Right. Yeah, it was difficult. There were some years like, are we ever going to get there? Are we ever going to climb that mountain? And I think we stayed true to what we wanted to do, our values and how we work. As a coaching staff, we just didn't, sit back. I think we spent a lot of time going to coaching clinics, visiting colleges, talking to other coaches. That made a huge difference. One thing that was very valuable to me is in 2014-15, after the 2014 season, I had the opportunity to coach on the Connecticut All-Star staff for the All-Star game and really worked with a great staff. Then, guys like Pat Miller, Matt McKinnon, Coach Dell from St. Joseph's, Dwayne Miranda, you name it, great group of guys, Johnny Johnson, and just to sit and talk to them and things they do and practice with them, I think really helped myself and in our program. We knew we had a great group coming back in 2015. But, we saw every few years we get to like 6-4. And then we have that drop off, 6-4, and we have a drop off. And then, we just stayed the path. I think my coaching staff, I had, a good turnover in coaches in around 2014, 15 that really helped. The school moving into a new high school really made a difference. We started getting more kids back, especially we have a lot of sending towns in Northeast Connecticut that don't have high schools. So we started to draw kids from Brooklyn again. And there's a lot of great athletes from there. So, add that in. And I don't think it was just one thing, Pete. I think it was a combination of a lot of things. And we just stayed the path. One thing I said is, we're not going to get outworked. And one thing as a coach staff, let's not get outworked. Let's put our kids in the best position to be successful, whether we were at 2-8 or 11-0. We just worked hard.
Tell me about that first breakthrough season you had. Yeah, like you said, 6-4, 6-4, but then you have that. What was it? 2015. It was 10-2.
The Darlings.
That was
school
and you
football.
guys did the climb. Like Maloney just did the same thing.
Yeah.
Where you went to the playoffs, you lost. Okay. Then you went to the playoffs. Then you get to the semifinals. Okay, you lose. Then you're like, all right. Then you go to the next one. And the 17th season was, that was it.
That group was a special group. The year before in 2014, I think we were like 2-9, but we lost 5 or 6 games by a touchdown or less. And then we opened the year, we lose to Griswold. I'm like, here we go again. Week 2, we come out, we get a W, I think, at Plainfield. And at that time, they were a pretty big rival of ours. And then week 3, we beat Waterford at home. And then we go into Bacon Academy. And Bacon was really good that year. And they had just beaten New London and Legend, the Sean Kelly, Peter Kazwebe. And we go down there and we just run them over. We beat them like 40-8. I think that opened
47.
Yeah. That really opened some eyes. And then we just kind of continued that climb, and we lost to Brookfield that year. And we learned a lot from Brookfield too. The way Brookfield ran their program and played in the playoffs. So we took a lot from that. And then, the next year, you don't know, is this just a 1-year thing? And we came back and, we made it to the semis again and played a very good Hill House team and lost. And then we knew we had that special group in 17 with Lockwood and Caffrey, and made that climb.
You talk about Brookfield, and you guys remind me so much of Rich Angarano's early teams, that ones with Lutris and stuff. They were strictly like wing tee, just bowl people over type teams in 03, 04, 05, and then they adapted. They were against Woodland. I think it was 05 in the Class Double M. No, it was the M final. And they tried to come back. They just didn't have the throwing quarterback in a game. They really could have used one. And then they just changed their whole outlook. And he won a couple more titles with they went spread. That was like when spread was becoming a big thing. But adaptability, I think, is a mark of a coach. If he wants to win, they're going to have to adapt. And I think that you can say that at all levels, huh?
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing we saw from them is they had the Bobby Drysdale and those guys. Those guys didn't make mistakes in the playoffs. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have any stupid penalties. They were driven. And, again, I think you got to adapt as a coach. I know as much as we love to run people over and all that, and that's, we hang our hat on that. I think you gotta play to your talent. I think all good teams adjust to the talent they have and what's going to win you the football game.
Do you feel like now, Coach, you guys have become kind of like everyone loved you at the start, right? Wow, look at this great little old Killingly team. Now you're like the evil empire, right? You're beating NFA. You're smacking them around. You're like the team nobody in the ECC wants to play anymore. And you're little old. Remember, you're still little old Killingly. Yeah, you're double M, but you have the school of choice thing, which
yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing. But you guys are like the out of the Eastern Connecticut Conference. You're like the evil empire, like Darth Vader out there.
Yeah, you're right, and everybody loved us on that run coming up, and now it's not so much. I guess it's I guess the newness rubs off a little bit, and I think one thing we have, and one thing I talk about this a lot with my coaches and even kids is. When the kids haven't struggled, the kids have all they've done is win here since they've been in high school. The current class we have, but as a staff we haven't. So we've always had that little bit of, paranoia, being paranoid, like, hey, we don't want to go back to that. That wasn't fun. So let's keep it going. And but yeah, there is. I think with any team that's successful, you look at those teams that nobody outside that town or school likes. How many people outside of Ansonia, like Ansonia, New Canton, Darien, I say, that's where we are. I think we're in our area and even around the state, and that's it's pretty cool.
Well, it's funny because like when you guys made that climb, like Sean mentioned that climb, and then 2017, you guys were the darlings, and then all that stuff, and you guys have stayed there. And then it was kind of funny on the other side. Last year, you play Rockville in the finals, and Rockville had made a similar climb under Knickerbocker, right? They get to the playoffs, lose, get to the semis, lose, get to the finals, and they're playing you guys. And here it is. Here's what you guys did the 5 years previous to get where you are now, and then trying to make that climb. And you guys were like, nah, stay down there a little bit longer.
Yeah, and Eric's done a great job. I mean, Eric and I are friends. We talk often, and we share different ideas. Again, we coached on that same all-star staff for Coach Mazzone back in 2019-20. We had a lot of fun, and a very similar program. And actually, we go back. Kinley Rockville was an opener for many years in the 90s, and to have that game back and was great. But it was the opposite. It definitely was. You made a great point there.
Coach, can we get you guys back down in double S or M or something like that? I mean, like I said, I don't know how much what you think really. Well, maybe I do of the school of choice thing, but I like you guys playing against those teams. I don't know how much in common Killingly has with the double M's, and it doesn't really make for a really intriguing. You might not face a team that you really are similar to, or a town or community, and that's like where I think this is kind of gets lost, their modifier. It's only been you, St. Joseph, I think Berlin once. I think that's the case. I don't know what you think about that, but give me your thoughts on where you think you guys should be really playing.
Well, we are where we are, and I think I can see moving up one class, but moving up multiple classes and divisions is a little much. We do have ag students that play football. We have, I believe, 3 upperclassmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, that are ag students, and we do get a lot of players that come in through our ag program. And they usually play. Some of them play freshman year, sophomore year, but then they really get entranced into that ag program, and there's a lot to go with it. I know this year we have a big group of ag students. We have a waiting list for kids to get in. But they're not getting in because they're football players. Put it that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say without a 6'4" lineman.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. As much people might want to think that Chad Neal can go down there and say, "Hey, I need this player." There's no chance. It's pretty competitive here. And anybody want to come take a look at it? Come take a look at it, because it's quite the program and the requirements. So I think we are an S school. If they want to move us up 1, that's fine, but moving up 2 or even 3, I mean, I think we were 1 more male student than Ansonia. To move up there, and then you look at where everybody else has fallen, and seeing some of the teams down in M and some of the teams in L. I think really looking at it is, I think we are a double S or M.
Yeah,
well, it's because that one player just happens to be Soren Reef, so he.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is Soren Reef. Yeah,
the ECC is kind of.
I guess we wouldn't trade that.
I would hope not.
Isn't the ECC kind of like kids go all over they go to NFA, they go to NFAs do. I mean, part of it's your success, right? I mean, just kids, even the kids in your town, really, you win games. Kids are like, well, I want to play football now.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it, obviously.
It is. And we have an excellent youth football program. They've done a great job of letting us, as staff, go down there, run what we run.
Yeah.
And we get those kids up here, and they understand what, at least the concepts and terminology. And we have 32 freshmen this year on our freshman roster, which is the biggest class I've had. And again, success. You come to a game in Killy on Friday night, it's a lot of fun. Kevin Marcoux, AD, we have the tunnel, we have the smoke show, we have fireworks, we have,
that cannon. I hate the cannon.
Oh, the cannon. Yeah, you should. We actually watch videos of that. When the cannon goes off, we kind of have someone filming and try to see people who are around the cannon and the reactions. It's pretty good outtakes.
Just don't look at the finals from last year.
Yeah.
Please post those. Tell Kevin, who's the great AD.
Yeah.
I love he's the best.
Yeah.
Takes videos, which I take and put on here. But he's great, and I would love to see outtakes. I would.
Oh,
love
they're
to see
great.
it.
I mean, we even in films on Saturday morning, we're like, look at this, look at that. Like, and we love our officials, but sometimes those officials are right there.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make sure. Yeah, no officials have any heart issues, please.
I'm pretty sure Ben DeSaunier, who was doing the cannon at the finals last year, was like purposely waiting for me to walk by to blow it up.
Yeah. We kind of snuck that in there last year, try to get it by Len Cordo and all those guys at the Britons.
Well, I mean, they let Rockville bring. Yeah, they let a ram in, so I think the cannon is fair game.
Yeah.
Coach, but before we let you go, you got obviously a pretty big stretch coming up here. Tell me about Windham. I saw them against C.O. Smith. I thought they looked pretty good. And you have the twins and or the cousins. I'm sorry, not twins, but the cousins they're great athletes, played a state championship basketball team. And then you have the running back who's just a real confident kid. What kind of problems do they pose to you guys?
Well, I think number one is they now are accustomed to winning. They have that confidence, not just in football, but they won a state championship in basketball. A lot of those same kids are playing, so they know how to win, and they are on the rise. So you look at a team on the rise, a team similar to us back in 2015-16, you see that with them. They run the wing T, and they run it well, and they have a lot of athletes, and they're confident, and they're well coached. So for us, it's a great matchup, and when teams prepare for us, people talk about, okay, the team on the center, a team in, multiple back formations. Now this is what we have to prepare for. We haven't had a lot of preparation. We see a lot of spread now and, preparing for a wing T. So I think it's going to be a great matchup, a great game for us. This used to be a huge rivalry for Killiney. Killiney-Windham was a Thanksgiving Day game from the early 80s to, I guess, about 2000. So we've had some great games with them, and the kids know each other. So I think it's going to be a great matchup, exciting. It's going to be a good test to see, for both of us to see where we truly are.
You got to stop the Maher kid, right? Major kid or
Yeah. They got a few backs in there, they just run the ball well. I think a Shehoff too, and so they're tough. They're a typical. Windham team, the big fullback, the good wing backs, and the quarterback who's going to run it and run that waggle pass.
Oh yeah, he's great. The quarterback. Oh man.
Shame Robinson.
Yeah.
May Robinson.
Yeah. And both Mangles are just great athletes. So it's gonna be a lot. And unfortunately we're at home.
I love the idea. I love the fact that the quiet corner ECC area, they got all the good teams now. Not all of them, but you know what I'm saying? But it's been usually it was like the guys up north, they can't play football, but now you got, Sean's doing a great job at Woodstock. Oh, yeah. Just an amazing job. How is he? Have you talked to him? How is he doing?
Yeah, Sean's doing all right. I think his son's on his way on the road to recovery, and, they've been through a lot. And Sean and I are good friends. We played together in high school on the state, we played in a state championship game together, and just a great man, great family. And thank goodness Braden is on the way to recovery on the road, because, you talk about something scary, one thing it's your player, but your own son it's another thing.
We'll give him our best. But like I said, it's great to see. Now that should be a great Northern ECC. The fact you guys are rivals, I'd love to see this keep going. And
then we talk about youth football. A lot of the kids play together because they draw a lot of the Brooklyn kids too, Brooklyn Pomfret, and school of touch. So it's always makes for a great Thanksgiving Day game.
The noisy corner now.
It's we like corner.
That. All right, Coach. Well, listen. Good luck. We'll probably see you when you guys come down here and play Brantford. Maybe we'll even go up to that game too. We'll see, but we'll definitely see you down the road. Good luck the rest of the way, and we appreciate you giving us a little time this Monday morning.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
So Pete, that was Chad Neal. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to bust his chops about the all-time greatest ECC team of the 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know how much he would have dove into that, Chad. He'd be like, we'll see. We'll see what happens at the end. That kind of thing. I mean, look, they are good. They are very, very good. They brought a lot of guys back. But this game against Windham is huge. Then I believe it's next week or 2 weeks from now. They have Brantford, which is another big game. No, back-to-back weeks. Wyndham, then Brantford. I mean, this is a big stretch for them. And then Waterford after that. Waterford's 3-1. I mean, that's a good program up there too. So they got it's not going to be easy. Oh, and Fitch. I completely skipped over Fitch in their schedule. And that's not an easy 4 games.
No, certainly not. I mean, the Windham game, I'm
pumped.
I think the Windham game is more for Windham to show if it's where it is, if it's arrived. Can they compete with a Killingly? I mean, obviously, we talked about Maher. We talked about the quarterback. We talked about the Mangual. I guess I always get it wrong. They're cousins. We talked about those guys. I saw them week 1. That was that Thursday night. That was my first game.
Yep.
And I don't even know if they thought they knew Game Time CT was up there. But I interviewed all those guys, and now I'm starting to get followed by a few. I saw one of the Manguals follow me on Twitter, so that's good news. So they're paying attention. But this is, for them, this is their moment. You got Big Bad Killingly. Chad's built an empire. He's the emperor now, and you got to get a Luke Skywalker in the ECC to knock him off. Hey, Pete, to kind of bring things down to your level.
Exactly. I kind of like it though. I kind of like that comparison.
Okay.
If anybody, you know what? Eric Knickerbocker is going to listen to this. Eric Knickerbocker is a huge Star Wars fan. And he's probably listening to this kicking himself being, I am Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And we had our chance and we lost.
Remember, Eric, Luke Skywalker in his first test against Darth Vader, he got pushed around.
It's true.
Next time he came back a little wiser. Came back
with one less hand.
Because
one less hand.
Vader played the psychological game with him, and Luke wasn't ready for that. Then they came back. Then Luke turned it around on him. So,
I love this. I love this talk.
It's a great conversation. I'm all about Star Wars. Once you get to past the prequels, were a little disappointing to me. They were terrible, pretty much. But the end of the last half of the last one. The Sith, that was the best.
Yeah, the fight
that was always
Mordor,
what I heard of when I was growing up. There was always rumors about how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. There was no internet, there were no books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There weren't books that really delved into this that much.
Yeah.
I was a huge original trilogy, OG Star Wars.
All every Thanksgiving, whether I'm working Wednesday night or Thursday after I go to a game, I just watch the original trilogy.
Yeah, it's great. Although I've not seen The Mandalorian, everyone says it's great. So I guess I gotta watch.
It's great. It's great.
But other than that, what Disney's done, it's made a cartoon out of the whole thing, and I don't.
You should get in the group chat with me and Coach Knickerbocker.
All right.
We talk Star Wars.
Yeah, all right. Listen, but again, no one was a bigger OG Star Wars fan than me. I went as Luke Skywalker for Halloween, I think in 1980, 81. Empire actually was right after Empire, so it had to be 80.
Yeah.
Empire is one of the greatest movies of all time.
One of the greatest movies of all time. Not even.
I have I gotta show you. Never mind. When we get to Star Wars, it's good.
I got lightsabers. I
don't go for that. I go for the real classy stuff. I have the Macquarie art on my wall in my bedroom.
I got the R2D2. I got the R2D2 Lego set.
Yeah. See, I don't go for
sick. It's sick. It's.
I have art. Anyway, all right.
I got Luke's land speeder
up
right above me.
Okay, we'll do a Star Wars podcast in the winter. Anyway,
it's the Mandalorian ship right down there. If you could see in the live action, right where my pen is pointing, that's the Mando ship.
Oh yeah, you got a lot of stuff up there. I love how you display it all.
I got my Batmobile and the Bat Tumbler up top.
Okay,
all right.
You and Mac. Anyway. Before we lose everybody. Pete, we got the Picks podcast coming up on Thursday morning. What are we picking this week? Another bye week, as we mentioned.
We're out.
What are we doing?
We're out. The NVL. A good majority of the CCC. There is some CCC teams playing. And I believe we're missing another conference, and I can't think of it right now.
CTC is off.
No, CTC has some games.
Does it?
ECC, FCAC, SEC, SWC. We're missing the
Pequot.
NVL and the Pequot. The Pequot's off too. I apologize, Pequot. We were just talking about Rockville. All right, so the games we are picking this week up in the CCC, we got Hartford Public, who's 3-1. They're going to Tolland, play the Eagles. They're 2-3. In the CTC, we got Bullard and Colby. They're 1-3. They're playing VG Tex, who's 0-4. ECC, we got Windham and Killingly, obviously picking that game. FCAC St. Joe's, 4-0, going to Greenwich. They're 3-1 on Friday night, a night game at Greenwich. SCC, Cheshire, 4-0, going against Prep. Prep's 1-3. They're still Prep. Cheshire, we're still waiting for that big win from the Rams. And this is the beginning of a buzzsaw for the Rams. And they're scheduled down in the SWC. Stratford, 2-2. The fight in Nathan Tyler's going to Pomperog, who's 0-4. Then we got Notre Dame West Haven, 3-1 at Hand, 1-3. This is big for Notre Dame, right? They lost to West Haven to start the year. They've won 3 in a row. Okay, you want everyone jumping back on the Notre Dame bandwagon? This is the game. All right. I had to throw this one on here. NFA at Shelton. I'm a big holding grudges guy. If Shelton should still be holding grudges against NFA.
Oh man, can we stop scheduling Shelton and NFA? I think it's over, guys. I think
no,
we can find NFA somebody else.
I need the grudge.
Or Shelton.
All right, then we got Thames River at Montville, crossover game. So Thames River leaving the CTC, playing Montville, the ECC. And then another one in the ECC. A great week for the ECC. We got Ledyard, who's 4-0. Great season so far. Ledyard for their Colonels. And they're going to Waterford. 3-1. The 3-1 Lancers. We went to Ledyard, Waterford last year.
We did. And Ledyard kind of beat them up. But Waterford's better this year. So
and Ledyard,
that should be good.
I mean, with everything that happened this offseason with players transferring out, I mean, Ledyard's 4-0. So that's great. Those are the games we'll be picking on Thursday morning's pod.
Yeah, we didn't have such a hot week last week.
No, you and I think you and I came the last. We came
Crosby
second.
did not come through.
No, Crosby did not.
Oh boy. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Catch Petey Pageviews. I can't think of more alliteration. Petey Pageviews. Never mind. The Pick'ems. That's it. Petey Pageviews Pick'em Podcast coming up Thursday mornings. I think we have a new name for it, Pete.
I like it.
So, with all that said, we thanks Chad Neal for coming on. One more week of half scheduled, and we dive right back into it, and we go on to the second half of the season. We'll be doing a lot of mid-season report stuff next week, so come back and check all that. Until then, for Pete Pageviews, I'm Sean Patrick Bully. This has been the Meat Grinder on Game.CG.
Love you all.